Most people walk into situations already thinking they know. They walk into conversations, relationships, and challenges with their minds already made up. Their thoughts are crowded with assumptions, judgments, pride, fear. Like a cup that's already full. There's no space left to take in anything new. And that's where the problem begins. You cannot grow if you refuse to make room for growth. You cannot see the truth if your vision is blocked by what you think you already know. A mind that's overflowing cannot be sharpened. It spills over, it resists, it clings to its own noise. Think about it. If you bring a full cup to the river, how will you carry the fresh water? You must power out the old first. You must empty your cup. In life, it means letting go of the ego that insists on always being right. It means releasing the need to prove something, to hold tightly to labels and identities. It means stepping into every moment with openness, with humility, ready to listen, ready to absorb, ready to adapt. Because truth doesn't arrive when you force it. It enters when you are still enough to receive it. A rigid mind is a trapped mind. It clings to what's familiar even when it no longer serves. It repeats patterns, follows old paths, and wonders why it keeps hitting walls. But a clear mind, a mind that's emptied of clutter, moves freely. It bends, it learns, it evolves. That's the difference between someone who reacts from conditioning and someone who responds with clarity. One is ruled by the past. The other is free in the present. Clearing the mind is not about becoming blank or passive. It is about making space for awareness. When your mind is quiet, you start to hear the truth that lives beneath all the noise. You become more than just a bundle of thoughts and reactions. You become conscious. And in that consciousness, there is choice. There is power. But the process isn't always easy. It takes discipline to notice the clutter. It takes courage to let go of thoughts that once felt safe. It takes patience to sit with silence, to resist filling the space with more noise. But once you learn to empty your cup, you discover something powerful. You are not the contents of the cup. You are the vessel. And the more space you make, the more clearly life flows through you. Empty your cup, not once, but again and again. Every day, return to that quiet place where the mind lets go. Only then can you see with fresh eyes, act with clear intent, and live without being ruled by what no longer serves. If you do not take charge of your mind, it will take charge of you. And when it does, it won't lead you with clarity. It will drive you with fear, with doubt, with hesitation. You will find yourself acting, not because you chose to, but because your mind pushed you into it. It will whisper that you're not ready. It will convince you to delay, to shrink, to compromise. And if you're not aware, you'll start calling that voice truth. But that voice is not truth. It is habit, conditioning, insecurity dressed in logic. The mind is a powerful tool. Like fire, it can warm you or burn you. Like a sword, it can defend or destroy. If it's undisciplined, it creates illusions, makes small things feel heavy, makes temporary moments seem eternal. But when you master it, when you train it to obey your will, the same mind becomes an ally. It becomes sharp, focused, and calm under pressure. You no longer get pulled in every direction by emotions or impulses. You remain rooted. Most people never take the time to understand this relationship. They feed the mind constantly but never question its content. They believe every fear, follow every impulse, and assume every thought is theirs. But not every thought belongs to you. Some were planted long ago by someone else's voice, by pain, by failure, by criticism. You must become the one who decides what stays and what goes. Otherwise, the mind becomes the master, and you its servant. Training the mind is not about suppressing thoughts. It's about directing them. It's about not letting them run wild. When anger rises, observe it, Don't react to it. When fear creeps in, face it, don't flee from it. And when doubt whispers, question it, don't kneel before it. You begin to understand that you can feel something and still act against it. That you can hear a thought and still choose not to follow it. That is freedom. Every warrior must know his weapon. And your greatest weapon is your mind. But no weapon is useful if it's always slipping from your hands, if it turns on you when pressure comes. You must take hold of it. You must learn to use it with intention, not let it use you blindly. Let your mind serve your purpose, not sabotage it. Let it support your movement. Not stall it with stories and excuses. Discipline begins with awareness. The moment you catch the mind trying to take control, pause. Breathe. Return to the present. Remind yourself, I am not here to be ruled by the mind. I am here to use it. And when you live with that discipline, your actions become precise. Your emotions balanced, your vision clear. The mind then becomes quiet, not from suppression, but from respect, because it knows now who leads. In a world that constantly moves, constantly demands, constantly shoots, stillness is forgotten. People chase more, do more, speak more, hoping that motion will bring meaning. But the truth is, the more noise you add, the harder it becomes to hear yourself. The more clutter you collect, the less room you have to see clearly. There's a reason you can't see your reflection in turbulent water. The same is true with the mind. When it's always spinning, when it's always racing, you lose sight of who you are and where you're going. Stillness is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is not a pause in growth. Stillness is strength, because it requires power to be calm when the world is chaotic. It takes control to slow the breath, to center your thoughts, and remain grounded while everything around you pulls for your attention. But in that calm, you find clarity. You begin to notice things others miss. You start to respond instead of react. You act from purpose, not pressure. Most people fear silence. They fill it with distractions, screens, noise, endless tasks. Because in silence, they might face the things they've been avoiding. But if you never sit in silence, you never truly listen. You only hear the surface noise, never the depth. And the answers you seek, about direction, about purpose, about peace, don't come from outside. They come in the quiet. They come when the mind is still enough to receive them. When you move from stillness, your actions are aligned. You don't waste energy reacting to everything. You don't chase every thought, every emotion, every impulse. You act with intention. You move with power. It is like a fighter who waits for the exact moment to strike. Not rushing, not hesitating, just present. That kind of stillness is not passive. It is preparation. It is awareness sharpened to its highest edge. And this stillness is not something you chase. It is something you return to. It is already within you, waiting beneath the surface. You don't need to search for it in a mountaintop or a retreat. You need to create space for it, right here, right now, in a single breath, in the quiet between two thoughts, in the pause before a decision. And the more you return to that space, the more natural it becomes. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the foundation of all meaningful movement. It is what allows you to see clearly, speak truthfully, act decisively. In that stillness, the mind no longer controls you. You guide it. You begin to understand that peace is not a place you arrive at. It is a state you carry, even in the middle of a storm, to walk through the chaos with a still mind. This is true power. You are not your thoughts. That idea alone can free you, but most people never realize it. They believe every thought that passes through their mind, every story it tells, every fear it creates. They attach themselves to those thoughts, wear them like a second skin, and call them identity. But thought is just a tool. It was never meant to define you. It was meant to serve you. Look closely and you'll see that thoughts come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. One moment you feel confident. The next moment doubt creeps in. One minute you're inspired, and the next you question everything. If you are your thoughts, then who are you when they change? Who are you when they contradict each other? The truth is, you are the awareness behind them, the observer, the one who sees. And when you understand this, you stop clinging to every idea that enters your mind. The mind loves to build stories. It tells you what might go wrong, what others think of you, what happened before, and why it will happen again. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to live according to that script. You'll shrink when the mind says you're not enough. You'll hesitate when the mind says it's too risky. But a thought has no power unless you give it power. You don't have to obey every command it gives. You don't have to act on every whisper of doubt or fear. You can watch it, question it, and let it pass. Once you begin using thought as a tool, you take back control. You start choosing what to believe, what to act on, and what to release. You become the craftsman, not the puppet. You no longer follow thoughts like a shadow. You shape them like a blade. You use them to cut through confusion, not to create more of it. This doesn't mean thoughts disappear. They will still come. But you become the one who decides. Just like a warrior chooses which weapon to use and when. You choose which thought to hold and which to lay down. Some thoughts strengthen you. Some weigh you down. Learn to tell the difference. Freedom begins the moment you stop mistaking your thoughts for yourself. When you create that distance, even a small one, between you and the mind, a powerful shift happens. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to lead instead of follow. And you begin to live not from habit, but from awareness. Let the mind be your servant, not your master. Use it with precision. And when it no longer serves the moment, put it down. You are not what you think. You are far beyond thought. Attachment is the root of most suffering. We hold on to things so tightly. Titles, roles, opinions, the need to win, the need to be understood. We cling to the image we have of ourselves, to how others see us, to the outcomes we crave. And in doing so, we become prisoners of our own expectations. The tighter you grip, the more rigid you become. And anything rigid eventually breaks. The mind craves control. It tries to plan, to predict, to shape life according to what it wants. But life is not something you can control. It's something you must move with. Like water, it changes shape. It rises and falls. It offers and it takes. If you resist its flow, you create tension. If you attach yourself to how it should be, you suffer when it isn't. But when you release, when you let go of the illusion of control, you gain a different kind of power. A power that moves you with life, not against it. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming indifferent or careless. It means trusting the process more than the plan. It means being fully engaged, fully present, but not emotionally bound to the result. You give your best, and then you let it go. You speak your truth, and then release the need for approval. You work hard, but you don't lose your peace if the outcome shifts. Freedom is found not in grasping, but in releasing. Because what you cling to will eventually become the source of your fear. Fear of losing it. Fear of not being enough without it. But once you realize that your worth, your peace, your power is not tied to any one thing, you become untouchable. You stop negotiating with life. You stop trying to force it into a shape. You let it unfold, and you meet it moment by moment, ready and alive. It takes courage to let go, to release the need to always be right, to stop chasing perfection, to stop trying to control what is out of your hands. But in that release, you open up space for what is real, what is natural, what is alive. You start to respond instead of react. You start to move with more fluidity, more grace. Do not be held hostage by your own attachments. Be willing to loosen your grip. Be willing to flow. The tree that bends in the wind does not break. It survives, adapts, it grows. In the same way, when your mind becomes less attached, your spirit becomes more free. And in that freedom, there is clarity, there is peace, there is strength that no attachment could ever give. The most dangerous voice is not the one that comes from outside. It's the one that whispers inside your own head. That inner dialogue, the quiet stream of words running all day, is shaping your life more than anything else. Yet most people never stop to question it. They assume its truth simply because it's familiar. But just because something sounds like your voice doesn't mean it speaks your truth. You have to start listening to what the mind is saying when you're alone. When you're under pressure, when you've failed, when you're afraid. Does it lift you up or tear you down? Does it give you courage or feed your fear? The mind can become your worst enemy if left unchecked. It repeats old stories. Stories that came from criticism, comparison, rejection. Stories that were never yours to carry. But you made them part of your identity simply because they were repeated enough. That's where awareness comes in. The moment you begin to watch your inner dialogue, you shift from being a passive receiver to an active observer. You stop being controlled by the voice, and you start questioning it. When the mind says, "You're not good enough," you don't have to believe it. You ask, "Who says that? Is it true? What is it based on?" That simple pause, asking instead of obeying, gives you your power back. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. And when you realize that, you begin to reclaim control over the way you speak to yourself. You can rewrite the script. You can replace judgment with compassion, replace fear with truth, replace limitation with possibility. You can teach your mind how to talk to you with strength instead of shame. It takes discipline to do this. Not once, but every day. Especially when things are hard. Especially when the old voices get loud. But you must stay rooted in the awareness that you choose what thoughts get your attention, what words stay, and what stories define you. That choice is always yours, even when the mind tries to convince you otherwise. Your inner dialogue should not be a battlefield. It should be a space of strength. The mind should be a place you return to for guidance, not a place you run from. And to create that kind of mind, you have to speak to yourself like someone worth listening to. You have to become your own ally, your own guide, your own teacher. Because if you don't shape the voice inside, someone else already has. And if you don't train it to serve you, it will continue to sabotage you. Your thoughts are not your destiny unless you let them be. Choose your words wisely, even the silent ones. There is a moment in every action where thought disappears. A moment so pure that you don't have to think, you just do. That is the moment of truth. That is the place where hesitation dies, where instinct lives, and where the mind becomes silent because it finally trusts the body, the spirit, the training. But to reach that place, you must first clear everything that stands in the way. Every doubt, every unnecessary calculation, every attachment to how things should be. You must get out of your own way. People often think that mastery is about knowing more, collecting more techniques, gathering more knowledge. But true mastery is often about subtraction, removing what's in the way, removing the noise, removing the hesitation, removing the need to think when it's time to move. Because when you're thinking in the middle of action, you're already a step behind. You're already trapped in the past or the future, and not fully present in the now. and the present is the only place where power lies. Flow cannot be forced. You don't enter flow by trying harder. You enter it by becoming fully available to the moment. No resistance, no clutter in the mind. You feel it in the breath, in the stillness before movement, in the space between decision and motion. There is no analyzing, there is no fear, there is only doing, only being. That is the place beyond thought. But don't misunderstand. This state doesn't come from laziness. It comes from deep discipline. From repetition, from presence, from awareness. You train until the body knows. You sharpen your instincts. You prepare so thoroughly that when the moment comes, you don't think, you respond. Like water finding its shape. Like lightning striking without warning. That level of clarity can't exist when your mind is full of commentary and judgment. It only lives in stillness, in trust, in freedom. Letting go of thought in that moment is not about shutting down. It's about rising above. It's not emptiness. It's fullness without interference. You are not distracted, not doubting, not questioning. You are simply acting with purity and precision. That is when the action becomes art. That is when the punch becomes poetry. That is when you are no longer trying to perform. You are the performance. This is what it means to flow beyond thought. To move without fear. To speak without rehearsing. To live without second guessing. It is not carelessness. It is deep presence. It is being so attuned to the moment that the mind no longer needs to speak. Because you already know. Only when the mind is clear can the body be free. Awareness is everything. Without it, you're just moving, acting, reacting, repeating, but not truly seeing. Most people live with their eyes open and their minds closed. They think they're aware, but what they're really doing is running on autopilot. They move through the day trapped in patterns, locked in stories, blind to the truth that's right in front of them. But awareness breaks that cycle. Awareness is the moment you stop, observe, and recognize that you are not your reactions. You are the one who notices them. The mind is a powerful machine, but it doesn't always speak truth. It projects. It pulls you into the past and throws you into the future. It creates problems where none exist. But when you bring awareness to it, real awareness, you begin to see clearly. You see the tension before it becomes anger. You hear the doubt before it becomes hesitation. You notice the fear before it locks you in place. That gap, that pause, is where your freedom lies. The moment you observe your thoughts, instead of following them blindly, you become the master, not the puppet. Awareness is not something you turn on once and forget. It's something you cultivate. Moment by moment, breath by breath. You train it like you train the body. You sharpen it like you sharpen a blade. And the more you do, the more clearly you see what is and what is not. You begin to recognize when your mind is leading you into illusion, and when it is aligned with truth. You begin to move with intention instead of reaction. You stop getting dragged by your emotions. You stop falling into stories that were never yours to begin with. With awareness, the same challenge that once shook you becomes something you can face with calm. The same person who once triggered you becomes a mirror for your growth. The same fear that used to paralyze you becomes a signal to go deeper, not run away. That shift doesn't come from force. It comes from seeing, from being awake, from being present enough to choose how you move. The beauty of awareness is that it doesn't require perfection. It only requires attention. Even the act of noticing that you've been lost in thought brings you back. Every time you wake up inside your own mind, you grow stronger. You reclaim space. You return to yourself. It is not about suppressing thoughts or fighting emotions. It is about witnessing them without becoming them. That is how you create space between what happens and how you respond. And in that space, there is clarity. In that clarity, there is power. And with that power, you become unshakable. Not because nothing touches you, but because everything passes through you without owning you. That is the strength of awareness. And that is the path to inner freedom.